great panel planned for you all this evening and are so delighted that you carved out time in this season of gratitude as we prepare for the upcoming holidays to spend the evening with us and an opportunity not only to hear from President Mary Dana Hinton, but three outstanding students who are also Hope Scholars. So welcome. If you're just joining us, please let us know where you're from in the Q&A. Our chat is unfortunately disabled. Emily Morgan's here. Hi, Emily. And President Hinton, with that, I'll keep a monitor on this. I'm going to go ahead and turn our evening over to you.
Well, thank you, Lauren, and good evening to everyone. We're so glad to be together this evening. And as Lauren said, I have three amazing students with me this evening. We're all on different parts of campus, but I'm feeling the love across the valley here. I want to get to the main event, which is talking to students, but I thought it might be helpful just to give a little bit of background about hope before we begin, because we're going to hear from someone who's in our original hope cohort as well as two new first year students. So I'm going to share my screen so that everyone can see and get a sense of the Hope Scholarship. So you all have heard us talking about hope for several years now, and it is such a wonderful opportunity. And I just want to give, for those who are new or who are less familiar, I want to give a little bit of background information. And I want to start by saying that HOPE stands for Hollins Opportunity for Promise Through Education. So that acronym is really important. You've probably heard of other HOPE programs. Perhaps you've heard of the one in Georgia or North Carolina. Ours offers something more than those programs, as you'll see shortly, but we are just really excited about the acronym HOPE because it means a great deal here on our campus. You know, the ultimate promise of hope is really around empowering our students and making sure that we are able to transform their future. That's what Hollins has done since 1842. It's what we continue to do today. And it's the promise we make to every single Hollins student that you will leave here empowered and that your future will be better because you are at Hollins. And so hope is one other way that we are able to make that happen for our students. You know, I think it really was an urgent call to support and equip our students that led to us envisioning hope and then making it a reality. You know, there are a couple of factors that were really very clear when we first began to ponder the Hope Scholarship. One, we know that there are tens of thousands of students who would be so great at Hollins, but we also know that finances are a real barrier for students accessing Hollins. And I know when I went to college that I was unsure semester to semester if I was going to be able to return. And we know that Hollins' mission is fit for purpose today, just like it was in 1842. So, how do we reduce those barriers? How do we give our students some degree of certainty from one semester to the next? And how do we make an exceptional liberal arts education available to young women who are seeking it? And honestly, this is so much more than financial aid. I think a lot of people think, well, hope is just about financial aid. No, actually, hope is about the enduring impact of our mission. Hope is about transforming the lives of our students, and it's about transforming the future of Hollins University as well, because we are all in this sisterhood together, and that's one really wonderful part of hope. So, as everyone on this call knows, Hollins was founded as our first women's college in the Commonwealth of Virginia. So, we have a long and deep history. But the way you survive 184 years, which is our birthday this year, is that you really understand your mission and you remain committed to it. And while the demographics of the country may shift around you or the demographics of the world may shift, you always have something to go back to stabilize your vision. And we all know that at the founding of Hollins, Hollins was founded because of the recognition that young women require the same thorough and rigid training as that afforded to young men. Now, we all know the very complicated history of the founding of Hollins, and we don't want to push that aside. But what we also know is the enduring belief that young women deserve a high quality education. That's what we deserve as women seeking an education. And so in 2020, when I first arrived, we began something called the Imagination Campaign. And the Imagination Campaign is what allowed us to really begin to think about hope in some creative ways. So it was trustees and many of you on the Zoom who helped us find the resources to launch the Imagination Campaign and to begin our what we now call our Regional Hope Scholars Program. It was a fantastic initiative to begin. We first rolled it out in 2021. And as Andrea will demonstrate, our seniors, our first graduating class of Hope seniors will graduate in May of 2026. So we're super excited about that. What we know is that hope really matters, whether we're thinking about regional hope or national hope, hope matters. We know that fewer and fewer people are having access to a higher education. And Hollins had to make a decision. Were we only going to serve those who can pay our sticker price, or were we going to open our doors to the best and brightest, regardless of family income? And we chose the latter, and I am so proud of that. And we chose hope initially with I told the board we would get about 7 students, and we got about 36 in that first cohort, which I was super excited about. And as of this year, half of our first year class will be Hope Scholars, which means that half of our first year class, and it's actually 55%, are Pell eligible. Why does that matter? Well, because that means that Hollins is investing in the brightest young women. And you can see that even as recently as 2023, we were far outpacing and outperforming some of the seven sisters with the numbers of Pell eligible students we were admitting. And I am so proud of that. I could not have gone to college without the Pell Grant. And I am so proud that our durable mission continues to support young women today, and that it's so important to us. So our first Regional Hope Scholars arrived in 2022, and we focused on Roanoke Valley students. And at that point, we had raised enough funding to do tuition. So you had the option of living at home or living on campus, but we were only able to fund tuition at that point because of the need to raise additional dollars. And to be honest, at that point, we hadn't even wrapped our mind around the very big, big vision of hope. But we were so excited to welcome students. And by the end of 2025, we had 90 Hope Scholars on campus from the Roanoke region, which was really wonderful. And then our board tasked us with thinking big. What if we went beyond regional hope? What would that look like? And in many ways, that was the fulfillment of my purpose, of my personal mission, was taking on that task. But we had a lot of work to do to make hope a reality. To make hope a reality, we had to go out and we had about 6 months to raise $10 million, and we were able to do that. And again, it's so many of you on this call who've made hope possible. And we have, without equivocation, once again found the best and brightest future leaders in our country. And we are surrounding them all with the hope and the coaching and the leadership development to ensure their success. That's what Hollins has done for so many years, and it's what we continue to do today. And let me just be very, very clear. When I say the best and the brightest, I look at the average GPA of our Hope Scholars, and it's a 3.8. These are students who will excel no matter what obstacles are placed before them. And I'm just really proud that we were able to take the financial barrier away. So when Hope went national and we raised that $10 million just about a year ago, we were able to do tuition and room and board and more than triple the number of Hope Scholars we could admit. So we had 125 Hope Scholars join us this fall. Now, I also want to be very clear that we are funding Hope not at the expense of any other scholarships that we're funding. We still provide $22 million dollars in scholarship each year. Every Hollins student gets a minimum of $25,000 in scholarships. We do that because it keeps our academic profile incredibly high. Once again, we are surrounded by the best and brightest here. And in order for us to meet our vision of advancing social mobility and really being the nation's leader in social, economic, and civic mobility, Hope is our pathway forward. And this was our first National Hope class, which is a lovely group. And I have on my desk a photo of our very first Hope class. And I could not be happier about the promise, the potential, and the passion that we have unleashed here at Hollins. Now, I can tell you all the wonderful things that Hollins does for students, but I want to be very clear that our Hope students, both regional and national, enhance, enliven, and enrich Hollins far more than I will ever be able to articulate. So I thought if you hear from our students, if you hear them speak for themselves, you too will see what a powerful contribution our Hope Scholars are making to Hollins University. So we will turn now to our panelists, and I'm going to say their names and invite them to introduce themselves. Now, Andrea, Liz, and Keziah, I have all of the notes. So if you leave things out, I'm going to say you need to mention this, you need to mention that, because I'm so proud of all that you do. So why don't we go? Why don't we start with Andrea Munza? Andrea, you are our senior here. Why don't you introduce yourself?
Hello, everyone. I hope everybody's doing well. My name is Andrea. I was born in Colombia, and I moved here, and I live like about 30 to 40 minutes from here. I'm a senior. I'm a studio art major and minor with film. And yeah, I don't know what else to say.
Well, you could talk a little bit about National Art Honor Society.
Um,
Remember that? Yeah.
Yeah, I was part of the National Honor Society, also the National Art Society in high school. I was part of a bunch of clubs in high school. I was also part of like the soccer team, like looking through the questions and looking through it. So I was like, oh, what did I do in high school? Because it's been such a long time. But I've seen like making it makes me reflect of all the changes I've made here, and how I've become like I'm a different person now, kind of. So yeah.
Well, Andrea, I can't wait to hear more about that. And I'll ask you about some of the Hollins things you've done
Mhm.
shortly. But let's go and I'll go in last name alphabetical order. Keziah Dayton, how are you? Tell us your name, where you're from, and maybe one favorite thing that you did in high school.
Hi, my name is Keziah Dayton. I am from Greenville, South Carolina. Um, and my favorite thing that I did in high school, I didn't have a lot of extracurriculars, but I did virtual school and I worked a lot. So I have over 900 hours of experience at a veterinary hospital working. And I think that I learned so much from that. And I think that's my favorite thing.
And you didn't grow up exclusively in South Carolina, did you, Keziah?
No, ma'am. My family and I were missionaries to Peru, South America for 4 years. And
Right.
we moved back in 2020.
Welcome. So glad to see you again, Keziah. And last, but I assure you not least, is Liz Lowry. Now, when Liz and I were last together, she had just run, I believe, a marathon, Liz, if I'm remembering correctly. Liz, introduce yourself to us.
Hi everyone, my name is Liz. I'm from Baltimore, Maryland. I'm a first year student, as President Hinton introduced me, and I'm planning on majoring in English with a minor in secondary ed. The last time I saw President Hinton, I had ran almost a half marathon. It was one of my long run days because I'm a part of the cross country team here at Hollins. And so I had ran 12 miles that morning that I was on the last panel. My big thing is that I'm an athlete. I love running. Um, I'm excited for the indoor track season to start. We have our first meet the Friday after we come back from break, so December 5th, and I'm gonna be running a 5K. And so that's a little over 3 miles. It's like 3.1 miles. But one exciting thing that I did in high school outside of my athletics was that I started a clothing drive at my school. I grew up in an area that was pretty impoverished, and there was a lot of my classmates who I knew, like even including myself, that didn't always have the resources to go out and buy new clothes. And so I was really excited when I was given the opportunity to take over a kind of a pilot program that my SGA had started. They had done a free store over winter break, and it was kind of like a coat drive. But I had talked to the teacher who was in charge of it and asked if I could take it over. And so I ended up doing every 2 weeks the same day that my school had their food drive, and I was able to start the clothing drive program at my school. And after I left, they had our special education department take it over, and so those kids could also be a part of the program and help out in the community. So
It's wonderful, Liz. Don't mute yet, Liz, because I'm going to have you take this next question, and I
okay.
will ask all three of you this next question. But your commitment to service is one that I think I'm going to hear about from all of you because that feels like a very big part of the leadership development you've done before you got to Hollins. But tell me, Liz, and then I will ask Keziah and then Andrea this same question. How did you first hear about Hollins, and what made it stand out to you?
Yeah, so the first time I had heard about Hollins is I received one of those just standard recruitment advertisement emails that most seniors get their last year of college, or last year of high school, excuse me, when they're looking for colleges. And what stood out to me was that it was a small liberal arts women's college. I knew that I was looking for a small school from the start because I really value that personal relationship that you can build with your teachers and your professors. And I feel that is the environment in which I learn best. And so that was one of the things I was definitely looking for, but also that it was a women's school because I felt that I would be put into a different kind of environment in a women's school. I felt that I would be better supported, that my voice would be better heard. Because not that I wasn't heard when I was in high school, but there was definitely moments, especially interacting with male teachers, when I felt like maybe my opinion wasn't put on the same value
Mhm.
as it was as my male classmates. But I definitely can say that like being here, like it has been such an incredible experience being surrounded by so many strong and smart women. Like I definitely am glad that I chose Holland. So I'm glad that I stuck with the things that stuck out to me when I was applying.
Well, we're glad you're here, Liz. Once the first years arrive, it's hard for me to imagine Hollins without you. So we're glad you're here. Keziah, how did you first hear about Hollins and what made it stand out to you?
Yeah, so I first heard about Hollins. I got a postcard in the mail, and I was looking for colleges. I was applying. I had applied to almost all of the ones that I wanted to go to, and I had heard back from some of them that I was accepted to. But on the postcard, it said that Hollins gives scholarships to everybody. And the colleges that I had heard back from were going to be about 60,000 a year after any kind of aid. And so I was like, hey, a scholarship, like anything, anything will help. So I applied and I was given the Hope Scholarship, and it has been such an incredible blessing to not have to worry about all of the other finances.
It's wonderful, Keziah. I'm going to circle back to you in just a minute. We'll talk a little bit more about paying for college, but I want to hear from our senior, Andrea. How did you hear about Hollins?
If I remember correctly, I think I was just like researching what colleges and universities were around me and like around like a good radius.
Hmm.
And then I think I just like found interesting like what which ones were teaching art as well. And then I kind of just like I think I signed up for an email or something. And then I started to get a bunch of things from Hollins. And then one of those were like, oh, full tuition. And I was like, let me apply and see what happens. And then yay, I got it. But I think those like simple like I don't know what is it like a simple thingy like a
Like
postcard can change your
postcard.
life
Yeah.
for sure. And
Oh,
the photo that was on that postcard, I see it every day on the back, so I feel like it's kind of meant to be as well. But yeah.
yeah. I love what you just said, Andrea, that a simple postcard can change your life. And you had said earlier that when you think about who you are now versus when you arrived at Hollins, you felt like you've really changed a great deal. So I want to ask you as a senior, what has changed about you in your time here at Hollins? Like, just give us some of the highlights. How are you different? What have you learned about yourself? Tell me a little bit about your evolution as you've been here at Hollins.
I've definitely changed as both like a person and like also my mindset. I used to be very shy. I wouldn't talk at all. And then think and going through here and getting familiar with people and also reaching out and like starting being part of the communities here. I think I definitely branched out. I definitely like taking up like leadership roles, participate in like planning events for HAB. And I think all those things and like going to like art lectures or just any lecture that's happening on campus, definitely everything kind of adds to who you become. And think everything in a way has made me who I am right now. I'm the president of UEL. I'm the president of a gravel magazine that we have on campus. And so all those things I would not have imagined to do before, like 2 or 3 years ago. So definitely builds confidence, building community. I think all of those have changed. And yeah.
Yeah, I love that so much, Andrea. So you really went from someone who was shy and quiet to leading a club,
Mhm.
UEL, to playing a lot of other leadership roles on campus and planning events. And that's so wonderful. You said that Hollins helped you to build confidence, and that's one of those things Hollins has been doing for 180 plus years, and to see it built in you is really beautiful. I want to ask you, Keziah, for a quick second, tell me a little bit about what you're planning to study at Hollins. Now, I know you have a deep love of animals, so tell me a little bit about what you're planning to study here at Hollins and what are some of the things that you're really excited about right now?
Yeah, so I am a double major in biology and chemistry, with a concentration in biochemistry.
Mm.
I love science.
That's
Um,
lovely.
I am so excited. Through the Hope Scholarship, I have the opportunity to go abroad for a semester, all covered, with the scholarship, and I am so excited for that. I'm going to Tanzania, Africa, to be on a research team, studying African wildlife, and I honestly can't express how grateful I am because I would not have had that opportunity, without the Hope Scholarship because I couldn't afford it. And I think that that will all of the small opportunities that Hollins has for students, they I'm trying to think of the words. They will make my vet school application stand out so much because I want to go to vet school and end up as a veterinary trauma surgeon
Oh,
several years down the road.
wow.
um, but I don't think that my application would stand out as much if I didn't have all of the wonderful opportunities that Hollins offers.
That's great because we have lots of vets among our alumni, and to know that you already have your plan, veterinary trauma surgeon, and that you're working towards that. And you've been on campus now 2.5 months. I mean, that's the incredible opportunity that Hope provides. Like it gives you the space to be able to dream, not just to dream about this semester or even your Hollins experience, but it's giving you the runway to do some pretty wonderful things. Liz, I know that you've been student of athlete of the week already, and I know that you have already said that you plan to major in English. What makes you in secondary education? What makes you want to major in English in secondary education? What drew you to Hollins?
Yeah, of course. So I had originally looked at the graduate programs that were offered at Hollins before I even applied, because I want to be a high school English teacher. And so, in order to be a public high school teacher, you have to have a master's degree in education or teaching. And so, I had originally applied to Hollins with the intention of completing the Accelerated Masters of Arts of Teaching program that you guys have. But I recently met with the head of the education department, and she told me that for whatever reason they don't offer that program anymore.
Hmm.
However, they are rebuilding a program, and they're, instead of an MAT, they're going to have an MED,
Yeah,
which is a Master's of Arts in Education, which she had informed me, which I did not previously know, that that would open more
yeah.
opportunities in terms of my career. And so I'm really excited for that. I'm excited to meet with the woman who I unfortunately cannot remember her name. I'm so terrible with names, but who is
Maybe Terry
creating
Wagner.
who is creating that graduate program.
Yeah.
And I'm excited to meet with her to see if that program will be available at the time I'm a senior. But what drew me specifically to that career is that I had a really hard time transitioning from COVID, which was my eighth grade year. I was online, to high school. I didn't have the greatest life at home. I was struggling with having a place to live. I was having, familial stuff going on. And so just coming to high school, brand new school, not having a lot of friends, just coming from quarantine, like it was just really
Mhm.
hard for me to make that transition. And I was so lucky and so blessed to have some of the most incredible, caring teachers my freshman year who really just reignited my love for education. Like when I was in elementary school, I loved school. I loved going to school. I loved learning. But I really struggled with that in middle school. But I just had the most incredible experience with my teachers,
Yeah.
especially my English teacher. I've always been more drawn to English. I love the creative aspect of writing. I think the English language, as annoying as it is sometimes, is such just a beautiful and such an artistic language. You can do so much with it. And so I just really want to share my passion of writing and creativity with others, as well as be the same kind of guiding light that my teachers were for me, for other students. And so when I do become a teacher, I plan on working in like more struggle, like under what's the word,
Un-
underfunded
Underserved. Hmm.
yeah, in underserved communities, just so I can be that same support and help students who love learning learn how to love again, love their learning again. So that's what drew me to education, and specifically to Hollins as well.
Wow, Liz, that's really very touching. All three of you have touched my heart in some pretty incredible ways already. But we all deserve to have someone cheering for us in our lives, right? And when I hear you talk about how that teacher transformed your life, that's what we are here to do at Hollins. And it's such a privilege to be able to do it with all of you, as well as with all of our Hollins students, because education can instill a lifelong love of learning. It can also be that place where you feel seen and heard and valued. And that's particularly meaningful when if you don't have that, at home. I think for a lot of students, Hollins really is home. I said I wanted to circle back around to financing college. So I'm sitting at my desk and I have a letter on my desk that I wrote in 1989 to my college financial aid office asking them to please give me more money because my mom was disabled, my dad had died, and I just couldn't, I wasn't going to be able to return. And that letter reminds me quite often of the importance of programs like Hope. Our average family income for our Hope Scholars is around $37,000. That certainly was not the high level, a level that my family had growing up. But I also knew that I could really make a contribution to this world if I was given the opportunity. And that's what we know about each of you. So tell me a little bit about what role did the scholarship play in your decision to attend Hollins? And if Hope hadn't been available, how might your college search or choice have been different? Andrea, why don't we come back to you and tell me a little bit about what role did Hope play in your decision to attend, and what might have been different if Hope had not been available?
I think for me it was like everything because I had applied to other schools and I applied to near like community college and things like that. But being part of this scholarship definitely like alleviated that what is it called? That worry
Work.
of the worry of being in debt. Being like, oh, I'm gonna be in debt for school and things like that. So definitely I'm like, oh yeah, I get to like rest and be who I want to be for 4 years more. Um and if I hadn't gotten the scholarship, I probably would have gone to community college and done that route of like a little bit of community college and then transfer to a school, or probably wouldn't have studied at all and just work or something like that. Um,
Mhm.
yeah, so yeah.
There you go. And Andre, I want to stick with you for a second because you're a studio art major. And what are you hoping for? I know all seniors are fully tired of the question, what are you going to do when you graduate? So I'm not going to ask you that question. I'm going to ask you, what does your heart aspire towards as your next big adventure in life? What do you see next?
Since right now we have a studio, like all seniors get a studio. This year I think my art has developed and become more professional, more serious, and more meaningful. And I think I inspired to that. I aspire to look up at what I can do with my art and like the social impact that it can have. So I think just being able to think about that, it's a privilege. And I think this scholarship definitely helps to do that. And help me get to this point that I get to do art that is at that level and that will impact. So yeah, I don't know if that answers your
It's
question,
beautiful.
but yeah.
No, that's beautiful. We have so many artists among our alumni, and to know that your art is at a level where you can have a social impact and to say, I'm gonna bet on myself, is a really wonderful, wonderful thing. Keziah, what did this scholarship mean for you and your family? Tell me a little bit about that. And how would your journey have been different if we hadn't had the Hope Scholarship?
Yeah, so my family has never had a lot of money. We've usually had just enough, but we've never had extra. So my family would not have been or is not in the position to help me pay for my college. And I have some pretty big aspirations that will cost a lot of money. Um, and so I just kind of accepted the fact that I was going to be in close to $1 million of debt. And between undergrad and vet school. And so I was looking at schools, and I mentioned earlier, I was accepted at every school that I applied to.
Mhm.
And my top school that I so desperately wanted to go to was going to cost about 60,000 a year.
Mhm.
And that is such a financial burden, and it is um, such a restraint for a very young person.
Right, right.
And um, if I think um, the Hope Scholarship really is the reason that I'm able to continue towards my goals. And um, the Hope Scholarship really was the reason that I came to Hollins. I I worked full time for 2 years through my junior and senior year of high school. um, trying to save even a little bit of money for vet school to make even try to make a dent. And I really didn't make like the money that I made, it would not have been enough to
Yeah.
even start. And because of the Hope Scholarship, I was able to buy my own car, and I was able to buy like enough things for my dorm to make it feel like a home. Things that I wouldn't have been able to do otherwise. And um, it's it's been so incredible, and I really cannot express my gratitude enough for Hollins and the Hope Scholarship especially.
Yeah. Keziah, you said you worked two jobs. You want to share what those two jobs were?
So I worked at Chick-fil-A for a year and a half.
Mhm.
Um, and then while I was working there, I was shadowing slash working at a veterinary hospital. And then about 8 months ago, I was hired as a veterinary assistant at my hospital. And so I quit my job at Chick-fil-A and I worked full time at the hospital.
Yeah.
And I learned so much, and it has helped me to know exactly what field I want to specialize in, and also it's helped me to just get more experience and to get to know different people in the veterinary field, to
Yeah.
have connections and recommendations and advice. And it was incredible.
Yeah. One thing that you've all demonstrated is how hard you work academically, how hard you work to make sure that you're able to have the things that you need to get to work, to have your books, to do all of that. Liz, tell me a little bit about what the scholarship meant to you and to your family, and what might your journey have been if we didn't have the Hope Scholarship here at Hollins?
Yeah, not to sound like a broken record off of these two incredible ladies with me, but it's the same kind of the same deal. I would not have been able to go to college at all. I I've been living with other family members besides my mom and dad. My dad passed back in 2020 at the start of COVID, and my relationship with my mom is complicated. And so I've been kind of passed around from family member to family member the past few years. And so when I was applying to college, I applied to the FAFSA and to my colleges as an independent student. And so I had this much income when I was
Yeah.
applying to school. And so if I didn't have the opportunity that I was given by Hollins with the Hope Scholarship, I probably would have been stuck working, going to community college, probably couch surfing with friends or other family members. My life would have looked so much different. I am like, because I had mentioned, I'm so incredibly grateful for the opportunity I've been given to be there, to be here, and especially to stay on campus, to experience a new environment. I really haven't been out of Baltimore at all my entire life. And so to go to such a different community with such caring and different people is so incredible that I've been able to, I mean, even just the campus community itself, not even just outside of, in downtown Roanoke, like just the campus community itself is so beautiful. And I'm so grateful to have the opportunity to stay on campus, as well as to even go to school. So yeah,
Yeah.
like I mentioned, I literally cannot even picture where I would be if I wasn't at Hollins. And like, because I had mentioned other schools I had applied to didn't nearly offer as much financial aid, and even the ones that did were still, I still couldn't afford the bill. I would have to take out loans on top of loans on top of loans. So the Hope Scholarship has 100% without a doubt changed my life for the better. So
Yeah. One of the things that I just find just so heartening is that we think about education so often as an individual endeavor, but having a community around you to support you is what makes education so powerful. And I'm so glad that we have you, you have us, we have one another. And I think each one of you have demonstrated how education is more than just going to class. It's learning beyond the classroom. It's having, a safe place to stay and to live. And college was that for me too. I wasn't someone who got to go home very often while I was in school. So I know what you mean, Liz, when you say it's a place where you can kind of find your peace. It is home. So a lot of what we do, and because you talked about this a little bit, but I'm going to start with Andrea. Learning happens in the classroom, learning happens outside the classroom. Andrea, you've done a good job holding back on a couple of things that you've done while here at Hollins. Tell us a couple of experiential learning opportunities that you've had, and that's so important. And it was really important to me when we were developing Hope, whether regional or national, that it wasn't a second class program. So I remember when I was in school, study abroad was not even on my radar. Like, I was lucky to be able to get where I was. There was no way I was going to be able to go abroad. I worked three jobs, so being able to play a sport was completely out of the question. So it's been really important to us that you have access to all of the opportunities every Holland student deserves to have access to. So, Andrea, what are some things you've been able to do since you've been at Hollins?
I think I've experienced a lot of things. Thank goodness. But one of the main ones for sure, it was my J term year, my sophomore year. I took a J term and we went to a faculty-led program to Italy. That was really awesome. I think that was like my turning point, because I got to be on a community in that trip. I got to experience overseas, like go to Europe and be by myself in another country, which I've never done before. And that kind of just opened up a lot of experiences, opened me up to a lot of things for sure. And other experiences,
Do you
I
play
think.
Oh, sorry, Andrea, go ahead.
I did my first year and second year. It was my first time playing the piano and
Hmm.
playing. I took some guitar lessons, and to me that was really important. Having like access to the big pianos. That's just like whoa, that's crazy because I've never seen them, and so that's just like whoa, I get to do this. And it's just that's really awesome. Kind of blanking right now. There's so many things that I like. I
No, I
think,
love that.
yeah, I think one of the big things also is just going to any lecture, be it within my major, being outside my major. I think having those guests over, definitely every lecture changes something in you, or you pick up something that is just very, I think it's a rare opportunity that we have here on
Yeah.
campus.
That's wonderful. I love how much you love the lectures. Like, we're so fortunate to have so many visiting artists and scholars, and to have the museum right there is really wonderful. Keziah, you mentioned that you're very excited about a trip to Tanzania on perhaps not tomorrow, but it's on the horizon. What are some other experiential learning things? Do you think you'll do undergraduate research or an internship? Tell me a little bit about what you're thinking that you'll be able to do.
Yeah, so through my master's major, in my senior year, I will do a research project with a faculty member.
Mhm.
I am so excited for that. I love I love like coming up with questions and then searching up the answers for them. And I think that part of surgery is like part of it is straightforward, and the other part is when something goes wrong, you have to come up with a solution right then.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the reasons why I love it so much. But that also ties into research as well, is figuring out the answer to the question that you have. So yeah, I will do a chemistry research project my senior year. I believe we have some kind of biology research as well. Is
Yeah.
there?
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
exactly right.
So that will be part of my major, my second major as well. Um, I plan to go to Ecuador for J term probably next year. As a
Yeah.
freshman, I have to stay on campus this J term. But for my
Yeah.
second one, I'm hoping to go to Ecuador. And that's going to be a wonderful experience. I'm so excited for that.
Yeah.
And another thing that I hadn't thought of until Andrea mentioned it is I have the opportunity now of taking violin lessons. I've
Mhm.
wanted to play violin since like the fifth grade. And I've never had the opportunity because my family didn't have enough money to afford lessons. And through the Hope Scholarship, I have the opportunity to get one set of lessons for free every semester.
Yeah.
And so I've started violin. I've been playing for about 2.5 months now. And I
Oh,
have
wow.
it's one of my favorite things to do now. And my instructor has commented many times about like how far I've come and like how fast I'm learning. And I it's such an incredible opportunity that I would not have had the chance to do without the Hope Scholarship.
Thank you. That's beautiful because we could have a little concert with you all here. Hey, Liz, tell me about, so you mentioned that you're on the cross country team, which is fantastic. What are some other things you do outside of the classroom? I know that you've been student athlete of the week already. And again, I just want to remind everyone, you've all been here for about 10 weeks, so you've done some incredible things. So Liz, tell me about some out of the classroom things that you're interested in.
Yeah, so I don't live in one of the traditional first year dorms. I don't live in Tinker or Randolph. I live in one of the hill houses. So this year I'm staying in Sandusky. And for those who aren't familiar with our hill houses on campus, Sandusky is the community service house. And for members who are living inside the house, we're required to have 30 hours of community service a semester. And for honorary members who don't live in the house, but are still a part of the group, are required to complete 20 hours of community service a semester. So, balancing my community service with both my work and my practices has been a little challenging, but I've definitely found ways to work around it, especially because there's a lot of opportunities on campus. And I saw that someone had mentioned in the Q&A section if I was involved in the clothing drive on campus, and I haven't been involved with the clothing drive on campus yet. However, I have been involved with the food pantry, which they're both in the same place. They're held in Dew Point Chapel.
Yeah.
I've just had more time available to volunteer at the food pantry, but I really enjoy like doing community service. That was one of the things that I was really looking forward to when I came to Hollins and I heard that there was a community service house. I was I'm I'm so excited. I just am really passionate about helping those who are underserved and helping people who came from a background like I came from. It's so important to me that we all have the resources that we need. And the food pantry doesn't just have food, it also has feminine hygiene products like pads and tampons and things like that. And I think that's also really important. There is a group on campus, a club, I can't remember what their acronym.
It's happy. Hollins, I forget what the happy, what the A stands for, but our period poverty initiative.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, they're amazing. I'm friends with the person who is in charge of that, Mal. They're an
Yeah.
incredible person. And so I think that is so amazing that we have opportunities like that on campus, and I'm so happy to be a part of it, even though as of right now I don't play a big part because of my schedule. I know just like the simplest things matter. Just being there to volunteer for the food pantry, even if it's just for a couple hours, matters so much, especially to the other students on campus who need those resources. I think that's so important. And so it just makes me so happy to be a part of it and that Hollins offers that for our students here.
Yeah. Hollins against. That's it. Thank you, Noel. Hollins against period poverty initiative. Thank you, Shanika. I knew you were going to pipe in with it because I know you're a part of that. I don't get too emotional too often, but I have to say, when I look at the three of you, I so much see myself, and even more, I see the future of Hollins and the future of our world. You are just so incredibly impressive. And right now, we're in the midst of raising. So we've raised $10 million, which will get the class of 2029 and the class of 2030 all the way through Holland. So we've raised enough funds for 250 young women to get the type of education that our listeners, our alums have just heard described. We're now in the process of raising another $10 million to get the classes of 2031 and 2032 through. And we're looking for this big transformational gift of about $50 million so we can endow hope. If you are able to open a door for us so that we can endow hope, I hope that as you listen to what Andrea and Liz and Keziah said, that you know Hollins, it continues on an upward trajectory. Hope is bringing life to our campus. Hope is helping dreams come true. And you see the diversity of the dreams in these students investing in their art, teaching to be a beacon of light and hope to someone else, and veterinary trauma surgery. I mean, I can't imagine being any prouder of what Hollins University does than I am at this very moment. And I am so proud to be your president. So before I start completely bawling, I'm going to ask Lauren Sells if we should go to questions. I see a few in the chat. How would you like to handle those, Lauren?
Yeah, no, this is great. And I was glad to be off camera so that I could wipe my tears. You all are an impressive bunch. And I think that's probably a good place to start is with some love for these young people.
100%.
You are simply amazing. My heart is overflowing with pride hearing these sisters. Wow, I love the passion. A great idea from an alumna. Liz, I hope to have you as a teacher at reunion. So we need to figure out how we can make that happen. There is a request, Andrea, to share your artwork. I hope maybe, I know Thanksgiving is coming, but when you get back, maybe you can share some photos that we can include with the follow-up material and a connection in Ecuador. So I kind of have done the housekeeping to give us all a minute. There was a question, and you touched on it a little, Liz, about what might be needed in the closet. And I might just spend a minute there with all of you, and if anyone has been there, as you're thinking about what you might need to prepare for the next phase or that interview. Are there things that you or your friends hear about that could be helpful as we think about alumni coming back to campus and donating things?
Yeah, so I can go ahead and pick it up. My Wi-Fi cut out for a second, so I hope I sound okay. Um, but I am not entirely familiar with the whole process they have in terms of donating the material. However, I do know that they're always looking for donations. We don't just have the clothing drive, like I mentioned. We have the food pantry. We also have a free store, which literally has like everything in it. It's kind of just like a little store. They have like school supplies. They have stuff for your room. Just kind of like trinkets and stuff like that. I think that's really cute. I know a lot of it is students who are no longer using their things and then they go and drop them off. But I know they would be incredibly grateful to receive whatever donation someone might have. So whether that be binders, papers, pencils, materials, art supplies. Um,
Mm.
since we were on the topic of art, I know they just have so many great things. I know one of my friends recently got a rug from there
Oh,
to
nice,
put in her
nice.
room, which I thought was really funny. So yeah, they have everything down there. So and especially with the clothing drive, I think it got a little colder here than I thought it would. So I think warm clothes are definitely something if you are looking to donate to the clothing drive specifically. Coats, gloves, hats. I know I'm definitely lacking in the glove department. I need to dig in my bags from home and see if I can find my gloves.
I
Um,
will make sure you get gloved up. We will all look in that and I'll put Lauren in charge. We can take care of
We
that.
got you, Liz. I'll
thank you.
also just make a quick plug since we asked about Happy. Shanika Byam is on the call and involved in that, and our alumni board is undertaking that as a project this spring. So you'll be hearing more about ways to donate supplies. I know we had a local alum stop by last week with a car full of hygiene items to kind of stock the pantry, but that is something, one way I know we are enjoying and continuing to support the students on campus so that that need is met and not something you need to think about.
Yeah, yeah. And we always welcome, items that you can do a business interview in.
Mhm.
Those are really, really helpful. And what I love about Hollins is there's no stigma attached to that. If you need something from the free store, you go to the free store. If you need something from the food pantry, you go to the food pantry. one of my favorite things about Hollins is the absence of judgment. We just want to support one another and make sure needs are met. And so thank you for digging into that question, Lauren.
Yeah, I think it's great. Turning for just a moment, President Hinton, to you, Deborah Abbott has asked about, during these turbulent and challenging times in higher education, there are pressures from the DOJ to dissolve DEI offices and programs.
Mhm.
The list goes on, and she's curious what the impact has been on our beloved Hollins.
Yeah. Deborah, I'm going to give you a longish answer, even though I know we're coming up on time, but it has been a challenging few months for higher education. You probably saw today they've dismantled a couple of more offices in the Department of Education. But what I've tended to do, and some of you have heard me say this before, I look back at what Bessie Carter Randolph, who was our president from 1933 to 1950, was up against. So Bessie Carter Randolph was the president during World War II. She started her presidency right after the Depression, and she had a really challenging time. And Bessie Carter Randolph said that we will never sell the truth to serve the hour. And that has been my guiding principle as we think about what matters and what will impact Hollins. Hollins was founded, you saw the quote from our founder. Hollins was founded as a move towards equity for women. We can never forget that. And it remains more important than ever. And I and you and we have a right to defend our mission. And so I'm defending that. I believe that I have to defend our mission as an undergraduate college for women, gender inclusive graduate programs. I believe I have a right and a responsibility to defend academic freedom in the classroom, and so we're doing that. And I believe I have a right and an obligation to defend access to a Hollins education, which you're seeing right here tonight, and why we are defending that. We have not been very hard hit so far. We have our largest federal grant is an NSF grant focused on women in STEM. So far, it has not been paused, but we have been preparing. If that does happen, we will not abandon that program. Hollins will not abandon its mission and its support for students for any reason, because that's why we're here. There are 30 women's colleges left. And I believe it is our collective responsibility to ensure that Hollins remains strong. So, Hope is an income based program. We're not allowed to track metrics like race any longer, but Hollins had never violated Title VI. We're not going to start violating Title VI. But I can tell you this without equivocation. When you look at these three students on your screen, you have to feel the joy, the creativity, the passion, and just the impact of the Hollins mission today. And no one can take that away from us. And I will fight till my very last breath to protect that mission. So thank you for asking, Deborah. And Lauren, that's 7:59.
I was gonna say, what a great way to end. I want to thank our panelists. Please join me.
You all did such a great job.
Yeah, it's really fantastic. You make all of us so proud, and it is a joy to get to be with you on our campus. And I'm so glad. Thank you for sharing with our alumni what your experience at Hollins has been like. To all of our alumni who joined us, thank you. It's a great season of gratitude is upon us. We're grateful for each and every one of you for the ways that you continue to help make Hollins stronger and live out our mission. So, have a great evening, everyone. Students, have a great Thanksgiving break, and
Absolutely.
we'll see you on the next Zoom. Thanks
Know
again.
that you are loved. Goodbye, Liz, Andrea, and Keziah. Love you.